Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
We're here with another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight in the Community, the country's longest-running community podcast. Here in Scripps Ranch, Mission Fed Credit Union. I'm Kristen Fogel, co-host of the Spotlight in the Community and show, and the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. I'm here with Charles Parisi, CEO, is that apt, of Cloudcast Media?
I actually sometimes say my title is CCBW.
Oh, boy. Tell
Chief
me.
Cook and Bottle Washer.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
So I prefer that title.
Excellent. And how long has Mission Fed been doing good things in the community, Charles?
They've been doing amazing things in San Diego for over 60 years.
That's amazing.
And honestly, Kristen, it's so beautiful, here at Mission Fed Studio because they are such a catalyst for phenomenal conversations like the one we're probably about to have.
It's true. I really don't know why we're having this person on right now, but it's fine. So we have a very special guest today. We have the Drew Schlosberg in the studio on the other side of the desk. It's so strange to have you over there.
Drew Schlosberg from Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on my show.
Yes.
How's it feel to be interviewed on the Drew Schlosberg show since you're Drew Schlosberg?
Well, it's really fun. This is the third time in the 18 years that this has happened. Neville Villamoria, many, many years ago, when we were in a different studio, the senior VP of Mission Fed said, "Hey, you interview me all the time. I want to interview you next time." Okay. And then we had somebody on, I forget her name, and she said, "Hey, you've interviewed me a bunch of times. Can I interview you?" And sure, that's fine. So this is number 3.
That's great.
Well, so Kristen, the bar just got raised because Neville is really, really smart.
It's true. He's extremely smart.
So we better think about some really good questions.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are just as smart. Okay.
Drew, talk to us a little bit about how you got into the podcasting.
Well, it's really interesting. In 2007, at the time, our executive in charge of the internet, it was called Sign On San Diego, at the San Diego Union Tribune, was dabbling with internet stuff, and Sign On kicked off like most newspaper websites about mid-90s. But this is now time everyone's sort of delving into what they called internet radio. So he got the okay from the CEO to build a studio at the Union Tribune. We hired some of the iconic some of the DJs that were sort of retired, Charlie and Harrigan in the Hall of Fame of national radio, Clark Anthony, who was a newscaster at Channel 7, also doing radio with Ken Copper, Happy Hair, apparently an iconic guy. So what we literally did is launch this thing, and Dave Mason of Dave Mason fame, Mr. Radio in San Diego, was our station manager. So from 7 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday, we were live. And they really blasted it out on the internet. Sign On San Diego was a pretty big and popular internet website at the time. Dave had the show from 7 to 9 called Mason in the Morning. And since I got to work pretty early in my role as community and public relations director, I'd come in and be in the show from 8 to 9 with him. Then it went over to Charlie and Harrigan, and then it went over to Ken Copper and Clark Anthony and Happy Hair. So basically from 7 to 2, it was taken care of. But that left 15 hours of programming that wasn't. So we filled in with folks at the UT. One of the ideas of the show was to give a voice to the UT writers. George Varga did a show on music. Bob Kittle did one on the editorial page. I did one focused on the community. And so that's how Spotlight on the Community started.
It sounds like a very, very early version of what we're trying to do at Cloudcast. So it's the old saying, all things that are old are new again.
It's true.
So here we are, all these years later, trying to replicate that local flavor in a deep, deep way.
Well, I'll tell you what was really interesting about this. 1 week after we launched it, I think, October 15 of 2007. Were you in San Diego at the time, Kristen? in 07?
I came in 2008.
Okay, so you just missed it.
Yeah.
Charles, you were
I was here for that was 10 years.
So 1 week later were the fires. So the fires hit in Scripps Ranch in 03, and 4 years to the day they hit up in Poway, Rancho Bernardo. So all hands were told to come on deck to handle all this. We were on pretty much the whole time.
Wow.
And so we all took a 4-hour block because people who were traveling or who used to live in San Diego would go to the Sign On, website and go, "What's this Sign On radio stuff? Never heard of that." They'd call us. And I got calls from Sydney, from Stockholm, from people that said, "Hey, we're on vacation. I hear San Diego's on fire." It got to the point where we had a list of the homes that had burnt down, and we were telling people, we were interviewing the mayor on this, and we had so many calls, it shut down the radio station. We had to get more technology in there, and my business partner, who Charles, Randy Everett, had to go get more technology to make sure we could handle all the calls. That was 1 week after.
Kristen, a couple of years ago, we did a little event here for Drew because he broke the record. He broke Tycom's record for a number of episodes. I think it was 4,192 parties.
That's
The
right.
party was themed 4192.
Okay.
Because Ty Cobb has the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball. And you may say, like, what does podcasting have to do with baseball? And the answer is actually nothing at all. We just chose a number because Drew broke the record. So, Drew, for San Diego, like clearly most people in San Diego were not at that event. Who was your very first interview?
Well, the very first interview was Dave Mason when I started it. I don't want to clarify for all those sports folks out there. I'm a former sports writer. They go, "You idiots! Don't you know that Pete Rose has the all-time hits, not Ty Cobb?" We don't recognize Pete Rose because of some of the nefarious stuff he was doing. So I wanted to make sure we clarified that. So Dave Mason was the very first when we launched it in 2007. And we also had the last one. We had Michael Rennie on, and Michael at the time was running Poway on stage. And we had just done an episode with him, and then 4,192 plus in between.
Yeah.
And it was really an honor because the guy who sort of started all of this for me came to the event. Chris Genuine, who's now the owner and founder of Times of San Diego online newspaper.
We should have him in real soon.
100%. Absolutely.
Because that would be a fun conversation, and we'll go back to the Wayback Machine.
See, I was thinking we just should have a baseball party in here, like I can get some inflatables and I don't know.
Yeah.
No?
Well, sure, why not? Listen, or we can go to the home of Cloudcast Media and Drew Schlosberg, Yanni's, and they would do something for us. But Chris actually made a few comments. It was a nice turnout, and I really appreciate Charles is one who led the efforts on that. And we had some president, CEO of Cal Coast was there because it was a tie-in with the Council on Literacy, if you remember.
And, of course.
That's right, in Christie Bruce Lane, yeah. So what's really interesting is when Sign On Radio sort of shut down in June of 2008, I guess there was not enough revenue coming into it through advertising sales. Yeah, I sort of kept it going with some of the folks there, and then we got involved with WS Radio, who'd been doing it for years, and had a great agreement with them. We'd promote WS Radio and their guests, and we'd get a revenue share. And at the time, Randy Jones was doing his show. We had a lawyer show. We had a divorce attorney show. And then as we continued to do these things, I got the honor of interviewing Charles Parisi and his daughter, Ava, for an event they were putting on to benefit homeless teens called Songs for Shelter. And he was recommended by Deacon Jim Vargas, the CEO of Father Joe's Villages, because Charles was on the Father Joe's Villages board for many, many years.
Yeah.
So how many times you were on? You and Ava were on about 3 or 4 times.
We were on a few times, and I'll have those memories the rest of my life. And that's what this show is all about: is creating impact, highlighting stories, and hopefully creating some incredible memories. Hey, to that point, Drew, share with us an episode of the 5,000 or so that you've done, counting all the interviews. Give us one that really, to this day, you'll never forget it.
Yeah.
That really touched you.
Yeah, well, that's a tough one to do. But, and Kristen, I think you might have been co-hosting at the time. I could be wrong. But there was a retired general. I'm pretty sure he had already retired. That we did it remotely because most of the time we always have people in the studio. That was laser beamed on focusing on suicides in the military. And their goal was to reduce it by 50% because it's at epidemic portions by, a few years. And this guy was so well-spoken and so heartfelt. And, as you know, Charles, and I think the audience knows, we used to do a military show. We're going to gin that up again with the San Diego Military Advisory Council. It's near and dear to all of our hearts in San Diego. It should be. They contribute so much money to the community. And just the passion this guy had. And you think, here are these folks that are defending our sovereignty, our freedom. They do it abroad. They do it on our own soil. And it's been so tough, they're taking their own lives. So it was very impactful. Yeah. And it was one of the interviews I remember very, very close to my heart on that aspect of it. And we can't talk enough about supporting the military and talking about very tough issues.
Yeah. We've interviewed so many people with really just, crazy issues that.
Yeah. But I will tell you another one here that was really fun.
Yeah,
and again, trying to think of, I do everything with BK, means before Kristen, and then AK, after Kristen,
Where everything's better and more lively. And just kidding.
It certainly has ramped things up.
That out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's right. I think I don't disagree with that. But Charles, you were here, and I don't know if you were co-hosting at the time, but one of my friends, and I think, certainly our buddy Courtney Pendleton, community relations manager for Mission Fed, knows him. Derek Danziger, longtime PR guy in town.
Great guy.
Right, he is. Right. And Charles, you know him. And he had written a book because he has a kid on the spectrum. And he brought in somebody that his kid was involved with, and Allie was her name, and she was in charge of riding above disability. So they had kids on the spectrum that would, learn to ride horses. So she came in with Derek and had a great conversation. Well, hey, the next time you're here, why don't you bring in one of the kids that are on the spectrum and we'll interview. Yeah. Okay. So they did. And so it was Allie and I think her COO, and then one of the person, you can tell the person was on the spectrum.
I remember this. He was in the lobby. I was in the studio that day. Was that another one?
Could have been the second one.
Okay.
But the first one sat in there, and his mom didn't want to come on the air, so she sat next. And we're doing the interview, and of course, sometimes they blurt things out and all that business. Okay, that's fine. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the interview, he goes, "Drew, you are a chatterbox." You remember that, Charles?
Oh, sure.
We need to sit there and find that clip and just have that as a promotion.
It would be easy to find that.
We need to do that. And I go, you know what? You are right. That's very insightful. I have to be a chatterbox, though, for the show. The mom almost wanted to crawl underneath the table, okay? And he, folks on this, they say it like it is.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And it was great. And I think the one you had met, I think, had some other, challenges he did. He was trying to find the elevator and all that stuff, but he wound up doing fine. And we love giving opportunities, and folks, these are an important part of the community. And for so many years, they've been, ridiculed, and we can't talk enough about groups like, Writing About Disability, or about St. Madeline's, or about, our friends at Noah Homes, and go down the list.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kristen, how about if we continue this conversation after a little bit of a break?
It sounds good. We need a break, yes?
Because everyone, our listeners out there, you are listening to Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight in the Community on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing phenomenal things. Kristen, for how many years in San Diego?
60, I believe.
Yeah, it's over 60 years now. And we are here with Drew Schlosberg of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight in the Community. We'll be back in just a minute.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
Welcome back to Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight in the Community Show, the longest running community podcast, now in its 18th year. Can you believe it?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's the flagship here of Cloudcast on our 5th year now.
Amazing.
So it's pretty cool.
We should have a party. I just want to have a party. We're here at Mission Fed's beautiful studio in Scripps Ranch. And as we've said a few times, been doing their thing for 60 years in the community.
Yeah, truly. And again, I cannot thank Mission Fed enough, because community is about conversations and collaboration, and they are such a catalyst for all of that takes place here on this Spotlight in the Community show. So it's a beautiful thing they're doing for the community. You can't thank them enough. Kristen, can I jump in with Drew? Because I want to talk to him about something.
Sure.
That's really.
Let's steer the ship on to Turks and Caicos.
I want to get his feelings live on the air.
Sure.
Some people know that I'm a fan of Law and Order. I love Law and Order. Kristen, how do you
I didn't know that.
I love Law and Order.
I don't watch TV, so yeah.
Well, you're missing out. Last night was Law and Order night.
All right.
In any event, there's Law and Order, then there's Law and Order SVU, and there's been all these different spin-offs. And of course, there's 60 Minutes, many, many years. And then there's Drew Schlosberg, Spotlight in the Community. Drew, as you know, part of our strategy for Cloudcast is to be local,
Right.
and have these core shows in every community. So here's what I want you to think about and talk to us. How's that going to make you feel when Spotlight in the Community launches in Atlanta later this year, and Philadelphia possibly later this year, that this show that you started all those years ago, that it's going to be in other markets?
Yeah. Well, listen, I'd be honored and humbled by that, and obviously very proud of what we've accomplished. And listen, there are plenty of Drew Schlosbergs running around. There's no question about that. And you find that person in Atlanta or in Philadelphia or Boston. And that's where you go with. And, I've been fortunate enough because of the jobs I've held, especially at the San Diego Union Tribune and being on boards, my job was to be in the community, and you get to work with people.
Yeah.
And with the launch of Sign On Radio in 2007, that's what we did. And now working with you, Charles, it just has amplified it big time. So I'll be absolutely thrilled. And then my goal would be, once you have done this, and I know it's going to happen, that maybe I could be on the first episode of the Spotlight in Atlanta.
Well, I was just going to say that. Well, first of all, you're going to be involved in helping select that host for these other cities.
Right.
But it's kind of cool because, think of Law and Order, then it was Law and Order : SVU, Criminal Intent, and all these spinoffs. So all of the other
You're
shows
helping to create the colon.
That's it. Everything else will be Spotlight in the Community Atlanta, but there will only be one Spotlight.
That's true.
But absolutely no question about it. I think every first episode in any city, you should fly their economy class. You should go there and be on those shows.
I've already reserved the Learjet, so there goes your sponsorship for the first 10 years of whatever the show is. I think what's great about it is something that we have really hung our hat on, and it's connectivity capital is what Charles has referred to it. And we've been doing this for 18 years. And what's so cool about it, you'll sit there and be interviewing somebody, and sometimes the guest in the next interview wants to come in and see how things are going.
Yep.
And we've had so many times where there's been a connection. One of my favorite ones was recently with Home Start. Works with some pretty tough situations with kids that have been neglected and so forth. But I think the operations director for the San Diego Watercolor Society, a little bit nervous and wanted to sit there. Can I sit in the first one and just see how it goes? Sure. So she's sitting in there and talking about it. And the Home Start, Laura Tancredi-Basie is talking about their big event coming up and so forth and all that. And it was neat. And the interview's over. And I can't remember her name right now, but the lady from the San Diego Watercolor Society said, well, do you need door prizes? Oh, we're always looking for door prizes. We'll donate some of the watercolors that are in our exhibit. Okay. Well, I went to the event. There she is.
Yeah.
And that would not have happened. They happened to be sitting in the same room. And Charles, you've seen so many different stories that way. And that's what Spotlight's about. It's going to be the same thing in Boston. It's going to be the same thing where there's, in these big cities with so many nonprofits and for-profits, I didn't know there was a San Diego Watercolor Society. Mm-hmm. Because it's 2 feet from where you work in Liberty Station. They've been doing this for 50 years.
Yep.
Or some. That's amazing. Did you know about them at all?
No, definitely not. And by the way, spectacular organization and amazing work. But I think that's what, Kristen, to Drew's point, we had an opportunity recently to chat about the importance of local media. Mm-hmm. In a world where local media is truly under threat, print, TV, radio, the three horses in that race are being challenged. And that's why what Drew's doing with internet radio back in the day, podcasting now, it's the fastest growing medium. It is so important for organizations like ours and others to step up and do local programming, because this is where people live, eat, school their kids. Mm-hmm. It's local.
I think, too, to your point about connecting people, too, like even as a nonprofit, like we get siloed. So, I know some of the arts nonprofit people, but, I don't connect with the Humane Society or the Blood Bank or all these others, So it's super cool that the multidisciplinary sort of effect of everyone meeting each other.
Here's a perfect example, because we're on the air and people, of course, aren't watching this, but Catalina Duarte from Mission Fed just brought in our next guest, who's now sitting here watching this being recorded, Jose Cruz from Council on Literacy, to come in and talk about something extraordinarily important to all of the country, certainly San Diego, democracy in general, literacy. And this is how people come together on Drew's show now for obviously 18 years. And it's just a beautiful thing. It really is.
Well, and one of the things also I was going to say is that is Kristen, because of her role as the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., giving people a voice, right? Whether it's memoir or it's whatever the case may be. I've already made some hookups. I just talked to Neil O'Connell recently, and he wants to circle back to you. Neil's the executive director of Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial. And we sort of brought up in the interview, because they do a lot of stuff with the school kids, be perfect, writing prompts to have them visit, go to one of those plaques of the people that are being recognized in Mount Soledad and develop a story.
Absolutely.
From that person's life or maybe a spin-off from it and all that business. And what a great opportunity to do that, Kristen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there have been several of those on the show. I want to turn it just a little bit, if I may.
You may.
We're talking about great organizations. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about Classroom of the Futures Foundation.
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate to be involved with it since its inception in 1997. And at the time, and I'm dating myself on this, that some of the founding sponsors of that were Pac Bell. Of course, there's no Pac Bell anymore. But Cox has been a founding member, I think SDG&E and so forth. But it was all about the future and all this technology. And so I talked to the guy who was running at the time, Bruce Brzezinski. And then I talked to my colleagues at the UT, and I said, why aren't we here? And what's really interesting about the newspaper business, we're probably as about technologically advanced as any business, but because the product looked like it was in 1715, because it was a paper thrown on your doorstep, don't realize what it takes to develop a breathing textbook every day, 365 days. And of course, with USA Today, with satellite technology, I said, we need to be at the forefront of this. They brought up a good point. And we tended not to brag about ourselves at the UT, so we became involved with Classroom of the Future. So, for many, many years, we shine a light on innovation in the classrooms. We got our big summit coming up on the 29th of February. It's our 7th annual College and Career Pathways Summit. Thank you, Charles, for being on our committee. He's just going to bring some biotech people in. We do an annual event that Jose Cruz has been to a few times, where we give about $50,000 of awards to those schools doing some great stuff. This year, we'll be back at SeaWorld. On May the 16th. So always trying to stay on top of our game, shining a light on what is happening in the schools. What is it going to look like in the future?
Yeah. So, Kristen, it was pretty cool, and it may or may not fit in your schedule, but it's worth attending. Very cool theme this year for the College and Career Pathways Summit.
Yeah.
And the theme is 2040.
Oh.
What in fact does the world of work and education look like in 2040? And I think what's pretty cool about the group that Drew has put together with the Classroom of the Future Foundation is the humility by which you have to approach this conversation. Because the reality is, none of us know.
Yeah.
No one was talking about social influencing as a job or social media or even necessarily AI in 2000
right.
about what jobs there might be.
I'm mentally
in
trying to
2023,
do the math when 2040 is, and I was like, it's right around the corner. That's actually too.
It is 16 years.
16 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, and Drew, and obviously, last night we had to have an opportunity to spend some time with a local AI expert for the Science of show with UCSD. And it was a pretty fascinating conversation that, of course, will be out on Cloudcast. But he talked about that uncertainty of what that future world and jobs will be. There's going to be significant jobs that simply don't exist any longer. And here's what he mentioned as well, including coding. And he's a coder. He says already the Chat GPT, the advanced AI platforms that he uses, is already a far superior coder than what he can do.
Interesting.
And so that's why I think this summit you're doing is so important.
Well, I think the key to it is like anything, and tying to the summit and Classroom of the Future, Kristen, to answer your question, I've always been very much involved in, at the time it was called School to Work Transition, so I'm really dating myself. Now it's College and Career Pathways, which is exactly what Classroom of the Future is about. I was honored to co-chair an initiative 4 years ago. We happen to be about 28 years ahead of our time, but focus on that aspect of it, because we all know there's many pathways to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so it's making sure you've got the skill sets and you're learning about what's going to happen, because this job that you're major you want to do now in 2024, in 2 years, maybe no jobs in that.
Yeah, we're doing an AI component right now at PLNU at Point Loma Nazarene. And, a lot of these kids just, are saying like, well, I'm not going to use it. I just stay away from it. And I'm like, you got to use it. Like, you got to figure out how to do it. We have to figure out how you can use it in the classroom, how you can use it outside.
100%.
Like, we can't just say, oh, that's bad. Like, no, this is a powerful tool. How can you utilize this?
Right. Well, one of the challenges will be on this as we wrap up our Spotlight show here, was talking about AI, is because everything is moving faster than the speed of thought. There was a great book written by Bill Gates, if I'm not mistaken, it was his PR guy, The Speed of Thought, and talking about, well, this is fine and dandy, but how many jobs are we going to lose from this? And the reason why I say that, because the old adage would be, but look at all the jobs it's going to create.
Sure.
Can I tell you right now, it ain't going to be creating as many jobs as they're going to be losing in certain sectors. Now, there may be some other things that are going to pop up with it, which is fine. That's why when we always talk about things like cyber, and I use the newspaper as an example. It's a great example. At its heyday, I think we had 2,400 employees, give or take. Wow. Do you know how many of those were writers? Of that 24 employees, the percentage?
300.
Right. So that's 1/8 of the newspaper were reporters. The rest were truck drivers, advertisers, marketers, community relations. The same thing in cyber. you don't necessarily have to be a coder. You're going to need lawyers, graphic artists, salespeople, public relations folks, and that's what you have to look at. And AI probably going to be the same thing.
Yeah, we're going to book him on the show, Drew, because you're going to be fascinated with him. Super, super smart. And he was at the MIT AI lab. Now he's here at UCSD using AI to identify medicines for cancer.
Right.
Very cool. But he mentioned something, and it's worth digging into, and we may bring it up at your summit.
Yeah, please.
Prompt engineers. That's going to be a new career.
Oh, yeah.
If you're good at query and questions, which is the creativity of the human mind, then AI becomes you master it. So it's a whole new pathway called a prompt engineer.
Yeah, there are certifications right now for it. They're good paying jobs. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Drew, I could spend all the time in the world with you, maybe over a society beer sooner as opposed to later. But,
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to shout out right now as we wrap up?
Well, listen, and I say this, one, thank you so much for coming on as a co-host. You've elevated the show, and I really appreciate it. And plus the fact I think we're having fun together doing that. And with Charles, listen, Charles and I hit the ground running. Some people you meet, and you just, what can we do here? And next thing you know, you're a business partner, and you've got all these tentacles here. And Charles is that guy, and he's very near and dear to my heart. He is the hero of my daughter, and so because he knows every Taylor Swift song. And I'm telling you right now, she said it today.
Do you really?
I'm a Swift dad.
That's another episode.
Oh, no. Well,
I'm a Swift dad.
She had said this, you make sure, I get the chance to go to a Jazz and Heritage Festival every year, and said, you make sure Charles is going to be there, because his daughter's graduating pretty close around that time in May. So my daughter Samantha, Charles has endeared. I mean, you are number one on her list.
Well,
I think I'm below the toaster.
I might be number 2. I interviewed her. She was on one of my magazine covers. So you let her know.
Is that
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's no.
Oh my God.
That just came out. That's what happens when you're on a
you mean to tell
Spotlight
me
in the Community.
You've
Okay,
been co-hosting
so
for 6 months, and it's the first time I hear
I've
that?
interviewed Kardashians and all sorts of crap like that. I was a magazine person for college entertainment. Now, let's be clear. It was an email interview, but
That's okay.
But that's
what?
okay. And she was on my cover, and she was very, very articulate or whatever. Yeah, I bust
counts.
this out in my classrooms all the time. When they're not listening to me, I'm like, I interview. But yeah, so anyway, I thought I would.
Well, so we expect
silly 2 cents.
We expect that.
I'll bring the issue in sometime.
No, we want Taylor Swift on the show. Are you kidding me?
She is way beyond me.
All you have
My
to,
career went
all you have to do is ring up Kelsey, who my daughter's in love with over here, and that's not true. Kevin, if you're listening there, my daughter's boyfriend, that is not true. Okay, and Charles has met my daughter's boyfriend. He's a good guy. Yeah.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
This was fun. Let's do it again.
Nice. So you want to take us home?
I'll take us home. You've been listening to another Spotlight in the Community, the nation's longest running community podcast in its 18th year. We're here at Mission Fed in the beautiful Scripps Ranch studio in its, how many years, Charles?
They've been serving the community for over 60 years.
I'm Kristen Fogel, the co-host of Spotlight in the Community. Just had our host on as our interview guest, Drew Schlosberg, and it is my pleasure to have been co-hosting with the CEO of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi. We hope to see you at another episode. Thanks so much for listening.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.